Shalom, shalom, and welcome. This is Rise of the 144,000 in multitude. Rise of the 144,000 in multitude. Again, welcome. My name is Symmanayah, and this is a message addressed to those who would be family, brothers and sisters, all who seek to worship and obey the Almighty Yahuwah and accept Yahushua as our Mashiach. This is a message to you. This is a message directed at those who would be representative of the 144,000 from the 12 tribes of Yashar'al and the multitude that will come out of the great tribulation. Pray, my brothers and sisters, pray earnestly like never before, for end times have truly begun. I ask you, when proof comes, what will you do? When proof comes that end times are here, what will you do? The 144,000 is being perfected and refined and will blossom like a majestic tree, like a seed coming forth. They will come to know their identity and what is expected of them. So it will be also for the multitude. They will come to know positions, responsibilities, and tasks necessary for fulfilling all that is written, all that has been promised by the Almighty Father. In this segment, I want to address the words fresh water, the issue, the challenge of fresh water. Yes, my brothers and sisters, things that result in forced transition, chaos, violence, civil unrest, and more. Things that will contribute to famine, drought, pestilence, and disease, fresh water, or the lack thereof. My brothers and sisters, I'm convinced the 144,000 have been sealed. I say this over and over like a warning, like a flashing light that will continue to echo the sounds necessary until its value is no longer needed. I have also come to accept the multitude, those who will come out of the great distress, the tribulation, along with the 144,000 are being trained, developed, and refined as I speak. Pray earnestly and watch. Anything that is righteous will be confirmed. I invite each of you to examine previous recordings regarding my position on the 144,000 in multitude. I also encourage you to consider beginning each series from its introduction, this series as well as the previous one. My brothers and sisters, in this series I will present current conditions and matters related to end-time prophecies regarding setting priorities and focusing on trends as necessary for preparation and movement of the 144,000 and the multitude that will come out of the Great Tribulation. In this segment, I will present matters regarding fresh water. I will share this, my brothers and sisters, with regards to the earth, the sea, the trees being harmed. We have reached peak levels and or tipping points. In other words, the destruction of our planet, our sea, our trees are beyond repair from all natural perspectives. We have reached those points. Keep this in mind as I share these two verses and move into this segment. You will come to agree, my brothers and sisters. Revelation 7:3 says, saying, do not harm the earth, nor the sea, nor the trees, until we have sealed the servants of our Elohim upon their foreheads. Revelation 7:4, and I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 sealed out of the tribes of the children of Yashar'al. My brothers and sisters, I will not go, as I mentioned, into details on this, but I encourage you to listen to previous recordings. I will echo again something that I think is very important that I've mentioned in time past. That is 7 key words that I am compelled to believe are reflective of the 7 spirits of Elohim, referencing Revelation 4:5 and Revelation 5:6. I believe these key words are a reflection of the 7 spirits, and they go hand in hand with a message embedded in the feast days. I will briefly touch on them, very briefly, but I encourage you to listen to previous recordings, for I mentioned them more than once. For Passover, identity. For Feast of Unleavened Bread, the word is sight. For first fruit, the word is knowledge. For harvest, the word is discover. For trumpets, the word is communicate. For atonement, the word is restore. And for tabernacle, the word is complete. These words are functional with purpose, my brothers and sisters. And as I mentioned, I believe they are a reflection of the seven spirits of Elohim. We are in the last days. End times have begun. There are some very critical things we need to do in order to survive from a natural and practical perspective. Pressing forward towards maturity, it is paramount and critical for us to be able to understand, discern, and obey the Spirit of Yahushua as he speaks to us, through us, one towards another, and through the leaders in which he has chosen. Yes, my brothers and sisters, these 7 key words, functional words, will be critical in contributing towards our movement towards maturity in him. Those words again: identity, sight, knowledge, discover, communicate, restore, complete. My brothers and sisters, people will become laid back or become slothful, lazy by grabbing verses out of context or trying to manipulate the text as they see fit to justify their inactions, their non-responsiveness to the voice of the Spirit of Yahushua. This will not stop what is emerging, for the Almighty Father does not and will not ask our permission to fulfill his words. The rise of the 144,000 and the great multitude will come out of the tribulation will be tasked with specific duties of which most of us are unaware. Yes, we read and we've come to accept the scriptures referencing these individuals, but most of us have failed to ask what are the details regarding the responsibilities and duties of those who would be the 144,000 and those that would be part of the multitude coming out of the great tribulation. There are those who have succumbed, have been overtaken by unbelief regarding the unity of Yashar'al, and do not believe we will witness a gathering before Yahushua's return. I suggest that you, yes you individually, take a moment and pray, for the Most High will prove what is true, what is right. I would like for you to also think about Nahum 1:3 and ask yourself, are whirlwinds and storms what's needed to humble man for us to be obedient in the shaping of 144,000 in multitude and the reflection of the Almighty Father? I submit to you, my brothers and sisters, ask yourself the question, are the characteristics and definitions of whirlwind and storms beyond just tornadoes, hurricanes, and thunderstorms and snowstorms? I submit to you, whirlwinds and storms are something that is unplanned, unscheduled, uncontrollable events, which also includes characteristics of life-changing challenges. More than just tornadoes, hurricanes, typhoons, and snowstorms, whirlwinds and storms are the challenges we face, some on a day-to-day basis, unaware, some aware. Look around. There are many whirlwinds and storms in people's lives, of which result in us becoming humbled. Allow me a moment to present Nahum 1:3. It reads as follows: Yahuwah is patient and great in power, but by no means leave unpunished. Yahuwah has his way in the whirlwind and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. He has his way in the whirlwind and storms, my brothers and sisters. Humbling events are coming to the believer. I ask you, do you think famine, drought, pestilence, disease can be considered a storm or product or result or be a result of the storm? Pray on these matters, my brothers, and seek to discern and understand, for they are and they do play key roles in executing the plan of the Most High Father Yahuwah. We will witness Nahum 1:3 like never before, and the Almighty Yahuwah will continue to have his way. I am compelled to believe that famine, drought, pestilence, and disease will result in chaos, increased violence, civil unrest, economic depression, turmoil, and much more, as stated. They will increase as time progresses. As pertaining to the 144,000 in multitude, I believe wholeheartedly within my spirit that we will see these coming conditions as humbling events. They will sharpen our abilities to discern and understand what we must do, what must be done. Remember, this plan belongs to the Most High Father Yahuwah, and it will and is being executed as he has designed. He will not be asking our permission to proceed with any task. I am compelled to believe we will witness things emerge, forcing us, yes, forcing us to move from business as usual, things that will shake us from our day-to-day routines in the coming foreseeable future. One of the things that we will witness will be the quality of water, fresh water, a change in the amount of fresh water that will be available due to drought and extreme climate change. We will see water rationings. It has begun already in many parts of the world. One of the most critical things we need on this planet is water, my brothers and sisters. The days of taking water for granted are over. Rise up, my brothers, and pay attention to the signs of the times. As the world's population increases and approach 7 billion, if it has not already surpassed that amount, fresh water is being consumed more rapidly than replenished. There are global statistics that indicate only approximately 2.5% of the world's water supply is fresh water, with 97.5% salt water. And of this 2.5% in fresh water, 70% is in the form of ice, permanent snow covered in mountainous areas, the Antarctic and Arctic region. If one was to do their research, you will come to discover that global warming has begun to melt these snow-covered mountainous regions. The Antarctic is experiencing rapid and unprecedented melt, as well as the Arctic regions. With the remaining 30% of this 2.5% of fresh water, much of it is underground, buried in the form of what is known as aquifers. It is said that only 0.3%, 0.3% of our fresh water comes from 0.3% of our fresh water comes from lakes, ponds, and rivers. Much of the water that is buried underground came from glaciers from days of old, and once these water tables or aquifers are depleted, are emptied, they will not be replenished unless there is some miraculous intervention. There is evidence that many of the aquifers are draining across the globe. Adding to the aforementioned information, global warming has caused extreme melt in Antarctic, the Arctic, and other mountainous areas at unprecedented rates, as I mentioned. As a result, sea levels are rising, and CO2, which was frozen in the ice, is being released into the atmosphere, causing our global temperatures to rise, also causing the oceans to absorb 30% of the CO2, resulting in a rise in acidity level. In other words, my brothers and sisters, the acidity level of the oceans are rising to a point where it will destroy many species in the sea. It will affect the seafood that we eat, as well as forbidden seafood that others eat. It will disrupt the food chain dramatically, and as a result, a ripple effect will occur, contributing to famine, which is food shortage, of which will cause much chaos, civil unrest, along with other disruptive things that I have continued to echo. To add more misery to the conditions of our waterways, my brothers and sisters, I've mentioned this in times past. For those of you who are unaware, the Fukushima nuclear disaster has resulted in hundreds of tons of radioactive materials being released into the Pacific Ocean. Be mindful, the Pacific Ocean is the largest body of water on the planet. Hundreds of tons of radioactive materials have been flowing into the Pacific Oceans for over 2.5 years now, with no solution or remedy in sight. It's been contaminating. The Fukushima, the radioactive contaminants have been reaching the west coast have begun to reach the west coast of North America. Radioactive particles and materials have been spewing out, my brothers, for over 2.5 years. This is the world's most cataclysmic event of man's life on this planet. As a result, my brothers and sisters, let us pray earnestly and seek what we must be prepared to do. It is something that every person on the planet should be mindful of in preparing for abrupt change. An article ran recently where a fisherman journeyed approximately 23,000 miles or 37,000 kilometers from Australia to Japan, to the United States and back to Australia. This fisherman and his crew witnessed what they describe as a dead ocean within roughly 7,000 miles of their journey. A little less than 1/3 of the Pacific Ocean that they journeyed on was described to have had excessive garbage from the tsunami, the earthquake from Japan, and possible radioactive materials. For it was described that in their journey, along with the garbage, that something toxic was removing the finish from the fisherman's boat. My brothers and sisters, there have been articles substantiating what he has said, indicating and alleging that the Pacific Ocean is dying and sea life in it is gradually dying as we know it. My brothers and sisters, while the government and corporations are trying to black out these major cataclysmic conditions and challenges, individuals and scientific groups have begun identifying the fallout of radiation within sea life that is reaching the west coast. Yes, reaching the west coast. There has also been radiation detected in rain along the west coast. Let me tell you, my brothers and sisters, radiation is odorless and tasteless, but very deadly. Those with hopes of getting fresh water, or you may be in an area on the west coast that's getting water from a desalination plant. I am sorry to inform you, my brothers and sisters, that the radiation that is churning in the Pacific Ocean as it gradually reaches California, desalination plants cannot remove radioactive particles. There may be some ingesting radiated water from desalination plants as I speak. We may come to discover radioactive water have already penetrated coastal communities, as well as been used for processing food that is being shipped from the west coast. This is highly probable and possible, my brothers and sisters, and I believe we will see an intensity in radioactive particles moving into our food chain. It will cause many to be alarmed, as should be. I'm compelled to believe that greed and possibly an effort to prevent massive chaos prematurely, the general public are unaware of how much radiation is being gathered and pumped through the desalination plants along the west coast. I am compelled to believe that the mass media, the government, and many corporations, as well as the wealthy, are holding back releasing the realistic challenges that we're facing regarding radioactive water penetrating our food source and spreading. My brothers and sisters, pray. Pray and be mindful. One can only hide catastrophic and dangerous conditions for so long. According to my account, if the entire west coast of the United States began fleeing from the state of Washington, Oregon, California, possibly Nevada, Arizona, and New Mexico, we will witness one of the largest exodus in history, with over 47 million people trying to distance themselves from radioactive contamination in uninhabitable areas. Any foods processed with radioactive materials passes on these contaminants, and I submit to you, my brothers and sisters, it is highly probable that they have already begun to move up the food supply. Pray and watch. While many brothers and sisters may take the approach to dismiss these words, remember, it was in unbelief many people faced destruction during the flood of Noah. It was through unbelief that Lot's son-in-law was destroyed when Sodom and Gomorrah faced destruction. One can begin to hear the warnings from those whom the Almighty Father Yahuwah, through a set-apart spirit sent in Yahushua's name, present. Or you can begin to become overtaken by unbelief and rebellion. Choose wisely. The fact is, radioactive materials have begun to reach the west coast of North America and will intensify in the coming foreseeable future. There are predictions suggesting we will witness larger doses of radioactive contaminants reaching the United States and Canada by 2014. Yes, as soon as 2014. That's next year, my brothers and sisters. Next year. As I mentioned earlier, the Pacific Ocean is the largest sea on the planet, and it is dying progressively with no remedy in sight. It's only a matter of time before our entire oceans are destroyed. Additionally, acidity levels in the Atlantic Ocean as well as other seas, including the Pacific Ocean, as a result of global warming, have increased in acidity levels. These conditions are compounding the destruction of our seas as we know it. They are destroying many sea life. My brothers, as I speak, examine Revelation 7:3 again, and I submit to you, the sea has been harmed as well as the earth and the trees. The rise of the 144,000 in multitude will represent those who will be guided to a safe place, those who have been designated by the Almighty Father Yahuwah, and will be led by his set-apart spirit sent in Yahushua's name, by those who he has chosen to lead. Pray and watch, my brothers and sisters. We are being prepared. We are being refined and perfected. And we will come to discover what must be done. Living instructions and guidance and warnings are about us. Who is able to discern with precision when to move, where to go, which group to join? Our Almighty Father has promised much regarding the life of Yashar'al and the safety of his people. Just like in times past, he chose leaders to use in guiding his people, so will we witness gain in these last days, these end times. Most of us have not given any thought to the intricacies and or details regarding end time prophecy fulfillment. But just like anything functions that have many details, regardless of what we acknowledge, things do work, things do happen, situations and circumstances do progress. Prophecies will be fulfilled. In other words, my brothers and sisters, the world does not revolve around what we acknowledge in or what we accept. Let us come away from taking for granted fresh water. Let us come to know the voice of the Spirit of Yahushua and move with precision. My brothers and sisters, things that we take for granted are coming to the surface with a vengeance to be acknowledged. Things like fresh air and fresh water are paramount, are critical to the survival of man from all practical and natural perspectives. And in these end times, we will see the reality of the value of the things we've taken for granted. But let us thank the Almighty Father Yahuwah, for he has a plan that is being executed. His plan supersedes any and everything that is occurring. His plan will prevent extinction levels from occurring as man may think. The Almighty Father Yahuwah has a plan, and in his plan that is emerging, we will come to witness rise of 144,000 and multitude, those who would be guided, fashioned to participate in a demonstration of fulfillment of Scripture. Yes, my brothers and sisters, we have entered into some critical times. Timing and precision will be critical in the coming foreseeable future. Possibly within a matter of months, we will witness some phenomenal and extraordinary changes among people, among ourselves. I urge each and every one who hears this message to pray. Pray like never before, for end times are intensifying and conditions are reflective of prophecy fulfillment. Yes, we will witness what is occurring. It will reach our face, our doorsteps, and there is no one who will be exempt that is walking this planet. My brothers and sisters, these conditions, as I mentioned in this segment, are real. They are true and enlarging as I speak. Choose wisely how you will respond to the coming challenges. Choose wisely who you will listen and follow. Seek earnestly to discern and understand and respond with a ready mind, body, and soul. Remember, the Spirit of Yahushua is alive and works in us one towards another. He has also chosen individuals who will be used to lead. Pray and watch. Things that result in forced transition, that will produce forced transitioning, things such as chaos, violence, civil unrest, and more, things that will follow in the wake of famine, drought, pestilence, and disease. They are emerging, my brothers. They are growing with intensity. And fresh water is a key component to our survival. It will also be a tool for the wicked leaders forming a one-world government. A one-world government that will unleash the beast system, the anti-Mashiach, anti-Messiah, and false prophets. Fresh water will be one of the tools. Access to fresh water will be one of the tools in which they will use to manipulate the unbelieving. I ask you, my brothers and sisters, have you begun to witness a refining process? Are you going through something that you are unaware of the reasons? Pray and watch. Adjust your perception. Look at it from various angles with prayer and supplication. Look at it with a prayerful mind and ask the Mashiach, the Spirit of Yahushua, what am I to learn? What am I to gather? What is the end result for what I am going through? Seek earnestly, my brothers and sisters. Soon and very soon, we will come to know our purpose and our positions. It will be wise to come to discern what, when, how, and where the Spirit of Yahushua is guiding. Yes, guiding each of us. Pray and watch. Some will be ordered, yes, ordered, and some will receive the fruit of their unbelief and rebellion. Be encouraged, my brothers and sisters. There's much work to be done. The process of refinement and perfecting a group who will emerge and be unveiled that will represent the fulfillment of end-time prophecies have begun. That refinement process has begun. Soon and very soon we will witness some extraordinary things, phenomenal things that can only be described as having origins from the Almighty Father Yahuwah through His set-apart Spirit sent in Yahushua's name. I suggest each of us become alert and mindful of the signs of the times. Looking back after events engulfed us will not make way for our safety going forward. Hindsight is not the answer. Be encouraged. Some of us will come to discover we will be in the number. Some of us will come to discover that we will be in the number of those called to safety. For the esteem of the Almighty Father Yahuwah and for the fulfillment of His promises. Be encouraged. You may be surprised that you may be in that number. We may be in that number. Let us continue to press for maturity and discover what is expected of us, individually and collectively as a body of one. Stay tuned, my brothers and sisters. Stay tuned. I will continue this series, Rise of the 144,000 in Multitude, with focus on food in the next segment. If and only if I continue to find mercy and favor, as I believe I am compelled and guided, you will see the next segment focus on food. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, my family, I pray that none is overtaken by unbelief and that we are able to endure until the very end. Until next time, my family, stay tuned for the next segment of Rise of the 144,000 in Multitude. Until next time, shalom, shalom, shalom.